So it was a long week. Let's get into it with this week's panel. Keisha Kluge is from Bloomberg Law. Ryan Taranelli is from the New York Law Journal. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I want to talk about the storm first because I feel like as of Friday morning when we're taping, that's still the big story. There's a lot to recover. Lives have been lost. Some have been critical of the Hochul administration and the de Blasio administration of their response to the storm. Ryan, what do we know that happened here in terms of the flooding, the deaths? New York City has seen high rainfall events before, but this seemed like one that stood out.
Yeah, it kind of, from a lot of the reporting really took everybody by surprise. We're talking across multiple states, dozens of deaths. Many in New York City were lost in basement units. And I really think you're going to start to see a lot of focus on how the government regulates those. It certainly sparked more debate and discussion around that. How the government is looking at those units, regulating them and whatnot. I think you're also going to see a lot more debate about how the city prepares for these flash flooding events going forward with the specter of climate change. And so I think that those are the main discussions here. But, to your point, you had these really tragic videos, these really dramatic videos slingshotting across social media of just floods, roads flooded, storm floods rushing into subway corridors. So I think that those images really, shock the nation, but also are really highlighting this issue for lawmakers.
I don't want to be graphic about this, but the basement apartments issue is a real thing because I've lived in a basement apartment before and I could not imagine being in one as it flooded. But another point about it is, as this rainwater gets higher and higher, it's almost like you're trapped in a car underwater where your door and your windows are sealed shut at that point. It's not as easy as the water's up to here and you just walk to your door and walk out to safety. And also, you have to recognize that if you did get to your door and you open it up, you'd be immediately submerged by a wave of water. So it's terrible. I hope that they become safer in some way, shape, or form. Keisha, just on the storm for a second, some have said that it did take the administration by surprise. Do you think that this is more of a learning curve for Kathy Hochul? Because she just took office last week, and as we know, she wasn't really close with Governor Andrew Cuomo when he was in office, so she wasn't really too involved in that storm response. Not that she doesn't have experience with it.
Well, and I think, like you said, she just took office last week. She's got a lot of balls in the air right now. And she did mention, these sort of 500-year storms are no longer 500 years. So I think she recognized that the state needs to do more to prepare, and not only prepare for water rising up, but water coming down and in, which is not something they were more concerned with the subways before. And I think the basement issue wasn't thought about for some reason. And I think she's also kind of juxtaposed to her predecessor who, was the governor of action, Andrew Cuomo, who, had his windbreaker on and was out, digging people out of the snow and doing whatever. So I think she kind of has that she has to overcome. And I think we haven't seen, she's been talking to a lot of federal officials, which is great, but I think we're going to have to see some more action from her moving forward.
Yeah, I think so too. And especially in situations like these, you wonder how the administration is going to respond in the long term. They said that the storm drainage systems were blocked. And from my perspective, I don't know how you have a storm coming in that could cause significant damage. And as the city administration, how do you not check those storm drains and make sure that things are going to drain correctly? Maybe that's not their fault. I have no idea. I'm not there on the ground.
And the real question too becomes, for state politicians, is this still going to be on the minds when everybody comes back into session in January, presumably? Is this going to be something that still extends to that? Is that going to be on people's minds? Or people are still going to be talking about what happened with this storm, which is going to be interesting to see.
Speaking of session, we had a special or extraordinary session this week. Lawmakers made a fun trip back to Albany for one day. It feels like it lasted about 5. Keisha, I want to go to you. So they passed this extension of the eviction moratorium. We went over the details a little bit earlier in the show, but how are people reacting to this? How is this going to change people's lives?
Well, I think that tenants kind of breathed a sigh of relief, and tenant advocate groups were just over the moon that they came back and did this. They were a little dismayed by the timing because the state's moratorium had actually expired on the 31st, which was Tuesday. So it kind of left this time period of limbo, and also the transparency of the bill, because no one got to see the bill. It came out, lawmakers were supposed to come in at noon. The bill came out at 2, and then they were expected to vote on it. So I think there was a little bit of hesitancy there.
I want to point out, just really quick,
yes.
this was not a surprise, by the way.
Yes.
The eviction, they extended this deadline until August 31st. They extended it in March, I believe, or April, one of the two. So it's not like we didn't know that this was coming. And with the numbers rising, I have to wonder why they didn't think about this a little bit earlier. But go
Well,
ahead,
and
sorry.
I think one of the issues for that is that the U.S. Supreme Court knocked down the federal moratorium, which
Right.
would have helped some New Yorkers through October. So I think lawmakers were thinking they had more time. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait, we don't have that protection. I think it's also important to show or to say that the Landlord Association has already said next week they're suing. They're not happy with this at all.
I'm not surprised. Go ahead, Ryan.
And to the point, too, is that while they did, it's kind of fascinating, too, because while they did lengthen the anti-eviction protections, right, they also, in some areas, loosened those protections for tenants.
Yeah.
You know, Keisha, to your point, there was a Supreme Court ruling that basically said, hey, you have to give landlords the ability to challenge a self-declaration of hardship in court. So the legislature then addressed that. Then the legislature also basically are allowing landlords to go forward with eviction protections, to go forward with an eviction when a tenant is either found to be a nuisance to the property or is causing significant damage. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the court systems react to that. Does that become a major thing? Do more tenants start to be evicted because of that? It's kind of a wait and see at this point, but it's interesting that at one point they lengthened it, but also in certain areas there are less protections.
And I do want to point out that the loopholes that you talked about, the property damage and the nuisance thing, that doesn't matter with financial hardship. So even if you have a financial hardship, your landlord can still start eviction proceedings on those two bases, just for people that know. Keisha, another thing that happened was we had the first 2 appointments to start the state's marijuana legalization rollout. We had Assemblymember Tremaine Wright, who's going to head the Cannabis Control Board, and Chris Alexander, who's going to be the executive director of the Office of Cannabis Management. So what's going on there? Do we see retail sales starting later? How are people reacting to this?
So I think people were really excited because the appointments were kind of delayed. Governor Cuomo signed the bill in March of this year, and the appointments had still not been made. And the big thing with these is that these 2 appointments needed to be confirmed by the Senate, and session ended in June. So if they weren't coming back, these appointments couldn't have been confirmed before January, which kind of would have, when you're thinking about the growing season of this, you're talking about needing to get it started in spring. And the regulations still need to be made, licenses need to be distributed. So there's a lot to this. And I think a lot of the business organizations, and especially the social equity aspect, trying to make sure that, you know, the little man gets his chance to open this up, and communities that were hard hit by the drug war have the chance to have businesses. Those are all things that need to come into play. So when I was talking to business groups, they were overjoyed that these appointments were made. There's a few more that still need to be made. The legislature, the Assembly and the Senate both have 1 pick, and Kathy Hochul has 2 more that don't need to be confirmed, and then they can start making these regulations. And then we're hearing the sales could start in as late as summer, the end of summer next year.
It's going to be interesting to watch, but we do have to leave it there. Ryan Taranelli from the New York Law Journal, Keisha Kluge from Bloomberg. Thank you both so much, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.